So lesson 1.3 had this example, number 2, on creating a bookcase and trying to paint the bookcase. So I wanted to give you the framing again around the question, because the question is specifically around putting plywood together to paint a composite surface, and so that we have several parts that are painted but some parts that are not. So excuse the spelling here, but he will not paint the back, which stands against the wall, and he wants to paint the entire visible surface. The most important thing here is this part right here. What can we assume about how we make this bookcase and what's going to be painted? So let's go to the actual notes here that we want to talk about. Let's assume a couple things. He paints the undersides of the 3 shelves. So I'm going to switch between the different activities I have here. Here's a fully assembled shelf, and here's what the shelf might look like if we were to rip apart the different pieces and take the shelves off of the bookshelf itself. So if you look carefully at the bookshelves, if I were to paint this, I have the top of it, the front edge of it, and then I have the bottom of it that's painted. So just to make it more clear, let's just start again with this fully assembled guy right over here. And so just so you can see what's going on here, it's going to move it into the frame. So I'm going to paint this guy, and let's just use some Light Christ blue here. And as we pick the blue and start painting, we can get a feel for what exactly the surfaces are that will need to be painted. So notice, and please excuse the crudity of this particular model, not everything is quite to scale. It's just to show you what's going to be painted on here. Okay, so if I'm doing this, and painting the top and the front here, or the front lip, and these guys right here, and this side here, and the undersides, 2, 3, and 4. I now have a fully finished or fully assembled shelf. And so what's most important here is that we are going to look at this thing and evaluate what's being painted exactly. So we're going to assume we don't need to paint the base, no one's going to see it. We're going to assume we don't need to paint the back, no one is going to see it. Okay, so let's go back to our assumptions one more time. So the assumptions are, he paints the undersides of the 3 shelves. The shelves are set inside the ends of the bookcase, meaning that it's almost like it's nailed into the sides here of the bookcase. He paints the visible or inside back surface, where the books will hit the back here. And he does not paint the area of the base of which the bookcase stands. Of course, that's the underside of our bookshelf. And then lastly, he actually paints the bookcase after he assembles the whole thing. So the first step is to group your similar surfaces together. So the first thing we want to look at are these shelves. So I'm going to go back to SketchUp, these shelves, these guys right here. So when we're looking at those, we can look at 7 different but similar surfaces. So here's the shelf, the middle shelves, and there are 7 of them. How big are they? They are 111 centimeters across by 22 centimeters from back to front. Okay, so 117 across, and 22 thick. Okay, so 22 thick. And so now that we have that in mind, why are there 7? Well, let's see. Let's count the fully assembled guy, all the similar sizes underside. 1, 2, 3, 4, the underside of the top, 5, 6, 7. Those 7 are what we account for the number of shelves that are the same here. And then why is it 111 centimeters across, even though the actual diagram says 115? Okay, so the actual diagram here says 115. Why is it 111? Well, that's because we have 2 centimeters as the thickness of the bookshelf ends themselves. So take away that thickness on the left, subtract 2. Take away the thickness on the right, subtract 2. That's a total of 111 centimeters after you subtract those 2 endpoints. And then again, it's 22 centimeters because that's how deep the bookshelf is. So that's the first set. 111 times 22 times 72 times 7. So I'm going to put it right here. 111 times 22, and then all of that is multiplied by 7. So now let's go to the next set. How about the top? The top has to be painted. Okay, the top has to be painted. And how big is the top? 22 from front to back, 115 from left to right. Now this is resting on top of the edges. And so with that in mind, you know how 115 times 22, that's the top. So I'm going to add that. 115 times 22. And then the next thing we'll look at is the backs, edges, and the edges of the shelf as well too. So let's just see what else is going on. Aside from that, here, the sides of your bookshelf on the outside. So the sides are congruent. Let's zoom out here. Here's the side on the left. Here's the side on the right. They are congruent. And how big are they? They're 140 centimeters by 22 centimeters. So we want to take that and multiply that by 2. So let's put our sides together. 140 multiplied by 22, and that is times 2. Okay. Left side, right side. That's right, plus sign right there. And then so now that we have that piece, now let's look at the back. The back's kind of funny. Let's see what's going on with the back, because not everything in the back is being painted. Okay, there's your original shelf. Here is our 3D model. Okay, and again, if I were to remove these slats, these 3 shelves in the middle, you're going to have all these, we call them naked spots that were not painted during class today, naked spots. And so because of that, we now have to contend with those naked spots there. But we can fill in this piece, this piece, this piece, etc., and this piece right here. So we want to do a subtractive part for this. So just take a moment for a moment right now, and we're going to just pause here, and I'll move this away. And let's take a look at this shelf one more time. How would you do this piece? The whole back, subtract that naked piece. 1, 2, 3. Okay, stop and think about that for a second. Okay, so the backing is 111 times 138. Why is that again? Because we subtract the edges, left hand and right hand, and in this case we subtract 2 centimeters from the top. 2 centimeters from the top. And that's 138. Originally it was 140, but we subtract 2 centimeters, and now that's the inside back, 138. So we now can do the following. Watch the brackets here. That is 111 times 138, but then using BedMoss I can still keep this in the brackets, everyone, but I want to subtract the 3 naked pieces there, and those are 2 centimeters tall times, and then going from left to right, that is 111 times how many naked pieces are there? There are 3 of them. Okay, so look at that whole bracket again from here to here. So what does that look like? That is the whole back, subtract, here is 1 rectangle, but there are 3 of them. Okay, 2 times 111 times 3. Okay? And so wait, there's a little bit more. We now have established the back, but as we sprayed, you saw that I also sprayed the insides that are around the inside shelves. So we sprayed the side, 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 and did the same thing on the other side as well too. So I sprayed this side, 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 side. Okay, so there's some spraying going on the inside as well, and so there are naked parts on the left and the right. Take a look, left and the same thing on the right. So now knowing that, we wanted to subtract those naked parts from the rest of that spray. So what does that look like? So that part, the insides, here are the outsides, 140. The insides, on the other hand, are 22 by 138. And so now that we have this, we want to take the side, the inside, subtract the 3 parts where the shelves will be, okay, the 3 naked parts where the shelves would be mounted, and then of course we'll do that whole thing twice because we have a left side inside and then a right side on the inside. Okay, right side inside. So now that we do that, let's take a peek then at what the numbers look like. Go ahead and try it, but here we go. So let's add that to our equation right here. Here comes the insides. So plus 22 times 138, and that is the inside piece. I'm going to subtract all the naked unpainted parts. That's 2 centimeters tall multiplied by, get rid of the centimeters part here, multiplied by 22 centimeters thick. Okay. And then how many of those rectangles are there? There are 3 of them, times 3. Okay, so now we have that piece as well. And so we have 22 times 138, that's the whole side, if we were to, as if we painted the whole thing. But we didn't paint the whole thing. We have to subtract the little tiny slivers, and there are 3 of them. That's what this whole bracket is about right here. Okay, so then that is the inside of each of the sides. So what's left over to do? We've done all the big chunks where the books rest on top of, underneath it as well, on top of underneath. We did the top, the total top. We did the backing, and now we just want to do the edges. Okay, so edge of the top, edge of the sides, and then the edge of each of the shelves. Let's go back to the 3D. Edge of the top, edge of the sides, okay, and then the edge of the actual boards, as if we were to paint the exact edge as well too. And then 3 of them. Okay, again fully assembled, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So if we have that in place, let's see what that looks like now. The top edge, I'm going to add that to my work right here. 115 is the full top edge. Multiply that by 2 centimeters, and you can probably guess every edge is 2 centimeters thick. That's the top. Let's add that to 2 sides, so I'll put a coefficient of 2 right now. 2 sides, so the first side, left side, is 2 centimeters multiplied by 138 centimeters, because we got rid of 2 centimeters from the original 140. Just because the top shelf is 2 centimeters thick, we can subtract that 2, and that's what makes the height for the left and right side. So it accounts for the left and right. And now we have one more, and that is the edge of the shelves. How many shelves do we have? 3 shelves. And each of the shelves is 2 centimeters thick. But then how long are they each? They span, okay, from the left to the right. If the top shelf is 115, this is 115. Subtract 2 from that side. Subtract 2 from this side. This is 111. Okay, so now I'm just putting centimeters squared here as a placeholder to recognize that we are in fact working with area still. Despite this being a lot of work, it's still doable, but just don't forget your units. So let's remind ourselves of what each piece is here before we calculate this whole thing. The first piece, and I'll just recolor this for us here, the first piece, we want to have this piece here established for all the different sides where the books are resting and underneath where the books are resting. 1, 2, 3 on the underneath, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's times 7. The next one, this next bracket, 115 times 22, that was the top. And so we go back to original again, just look at the top. It's a nice perfect flat piece of wood here resting on top of everything else, so it's a full piece. 115 multiplied by 22. Okay, this guy right here. There are two of this one we want to address. So if we did that, what exactly is that? 140 times 22 is the outside sides of my bookshelf. So that's left side and right side. That's why I can say times 2. And then the next bracket is 111 multiplied by 138. And here are the numbers right here. This is the back that gets hit by the edge of the books when the books slam to the back of the bookshelf. So that's the full thing as if we painted the whole thing. But remember, grade 9s, we didn't paint the whole thing. We left a little bit, and we called them the naked spots that aren't painted. And those spots are just tiny slivers of rectangles. They are 2 times 111. And how many of them are there? There are in fact 3. So again, going back to this, if we were to pull these middle shelves out, we would see something like this, where you now have those naked spots in the back of your bookshelf. And then, so last but not least here, the last couple here, we have 22 times 138. That's a full, as if we painted a full side on the inside. However, we subtracted. What do we subtract? A tiny sliver. Again, the naked zones, the naked spots. 2 times 22 is a regular rectangle, but how many of them are there? There are in fact 3 of them. Okay, so we subtracted that from the full side inside. And we did that 22 times 138, that's the left hand side. And then we did, we're missing something here, but we do that and subtract 2 times 22 times 3 for the little slivers. But this is for the left side. And then how do we count for the right side? And so we're missing a bit of a 2 here. So I'll put a 2 right here. Why is that? Because that's 1 for the left, inside left, right inside here. And then 1 is for the right, the inside right. That's for this guy right inside here. Okay, and then it's good for us to double check as we're doing this, obviously, because there's a lot of work to do. And so it's very easy to make a mistake on this one, which is why I'm double checking as I'm talking this one out as a team. So 115 times 2, the edge of our shelf, and that's the edge of the top shelf. There's only one top, one edge, 115 times 2. How about this one? 2 times 2 times 138. Those are the side edges, the big column sides, and there's left side and right side. That's why we're multiplying by 2. And yes, it's a coefficient, but I'll just put 2 times that just so you can see that we're doing a full multiplication there. And then last but not least, hey, I see a 3 there. That probably has to do with our each of our shelves. 3 times 2 times 111. And again, that's the span of the shelf on the inside, and that's how tall or how thick the shelf is. And how many shelves are there? There are 3. So go ahead and calculate this now, and then come back and see what the actual answer is. Alright, so after you did your own calculations, you'll have these numbers as your simplified versions of all of your brackets. So 17094 plus 2530 plus 6160, etc. You can see all the numbers here. One good feel forward for us is that I've kept all of these plus signs in blue outside of our brackets, and I have 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So as you check your own work, double check your terms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that's okay. So as we tally that all up, everyone, I've got 47,692 centimeters squared.